Hey guys, Hitman89 here, I hope you're doing great, and today I'm gonna show you the best adventure games to play right now. But before we dive into the first game, let's have a look at today's sponsor, World Eternal Online, a sandbox MMORPG where you can fight monsters, level up, craft and upgrade your gear, team up with other players to take down bosses, or you could have some PvP action instead. The game is completely free to play and it's made by veteran developers who worked on games like Final Fantasy. Plus, World Eternal Online is currently in open alpha, which means it's actively being improved and there is tons of content coming soon. So go ahead and use my link in the description to download World Eternal Online for free. What's not free though is the first game on my list. Tchia is a cute, chill, sandbox open world game that just came out, and even though some stuff will inevitably remind you of Breath of the Wild, what makes this game unique is that you can possess animals and even objects. How cool is that? So on Tchia, you get to explore a beautiful world freely. There are many points of interest to check out, and you'll also come across the soldiers that abducted your dad. You can fight them by possessing objects to blow them up or burn them alive. Oh, and keep in mind, all the voice lines are in the local native tongue, so unless you're Caledonian, you'll be reading subtitles every time there is dialogue. But if you're a douchebag like me, then you'll probably end up skipping the shit out of them cutscenes. Also, even though it doesn't bother me for this type of game, I think it's worth noting that the game only runs at 30 FPS on PS5. Speaking of PlayStation, Tchia is part of PS Plus Extra and Premium, so if you have one of those subscriptions, maybe give it a shot. The second game I want to show you is not chill at all. As a matter of fact, it takes place in a plague-ridden 14th century France. A Plague Tale Requiem is way darker than the first one, and the story is told in a much better way. But you would expect the devs to add plenty of new game mechanics and fix the AI, right? Well, they didn't. The AI still sucks. That being said, the stealth adventure game still manages to deliver an enjoyable experience. The soundtrack is excellent and the environments are stunningly beautiful. Keep in mind the frame rate is limited to 30 FPS on console, and that's a bummer. Gameplay wise, you'll have to get past soldiers and bandits, but if you can't do that with stealth, you could try and fight them with your slingshot or crossbow, but keep in mind you'll always be outnumbered, and you'll also have to deal with the swarms of rats that block your way. But what really bothered me here is that every time I had a puzzle to solve, my companion kept on giving me tips to make sure I wouldn't get stuck for longer than 6.9 seconds. Let me know if you also hate this new trend of having a character constantly telling you what to do and where to go. Anyway, at number 3 we have an old school adventure game. I remember beating Tales of Monkey Island back in the day and loving it, so I played this point and click game a little bit on PC first, and then I switched to the Series X. I don't know about you, but I really didn't like the art style and I wish they went with something a little more modern. Whatever, the game starts with the main protagonist, Guybrush Threepwood, telling his son the story of how he returned to Monkey Island in order to find its secret. Like on pretty much every point and click game, nothing is easy. You'll need to do everyone favors to get the items you need, and you'll also have to solve all kinds of puzzles every step of the way. And I love it. Return to Monkey Island is extremely fun to play and it gets addictive real quick. I don't know why it's not out on all gen consoles yet, but hey, if you're on current gen, Switch or PC, make sure to give this game a try. Let's move on to the fourth game. On Ghostwire Tokyo, you play as a young college student who literally unites with a ghost named KK in order to save his sister in a ghost-infected Tokyo. To do that, you'll have to take down a bunch of headless schoolgirls and Slenderman-looking motherfuckers by using those Naruto hand signs. It's on both PS Plus and Game Pass, cause yes, it's now also available on Xbox. So if like me, you haven't had the chance to play it last year, go for it. But if this repetitive Japanese Ghostbusters isn't your cup of tea and you want a Lovecraftian adventure instead, then maybe you should take a look at Sherlock Holmes: The Awakened, which is the remake of the original 2008 game using Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1's engine, and as you can see, somehow it still looks outdated as fuck. In all seriousness though, on this game you'll investigate a series of mysterious disappearances that could be linked to a dark cult. So Sherlock and Dr. Watson will have to find clues, interrogate suspects and solve puzzles in Europe and also in Louisiana. Now, let's move on to the next game. I'ma say it right out of the gate, I don't think Ragnarok is a masterpiece. Yeah, I said it. Hear me out though, this could have been a solid 15-hour masterpiece, but instead, they stretched the shit out of it to make it 30 hours long. It feels bloated, with puzzles that get pretty much solved for you instantly by Mimir or Atreus. The combat system gets repetitive after a while, but there are no loading screens, the transitions from cutscenes to gameplay are seamless, and the haptic feedback implementation is lit. Plus, you can play as Atreus every now and then, and that adds a little bit of variety to the gameplay, but there are many sections that drag for too long. In my opinion, at least. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments down below. Now we're gonna go from one of the biggest games out there to an underrated one. On the Serpent Rogue, you're a potion brewer in a world infested by corruption. No, not that kind of corruption. Corruption here covers trees and wildlife, making them aggressive towards all living creatures. So you'll have to explore, research and collect resources, which you can use to make potions and craft useful tools. Oh, and you can also tame all kinds of creatures. Keep in mind the Serpent Rogue is one of those games that'll have you looking up guides on YouTube because it has little to no hand-holding and everything is learned through trial and error. So if you don't want to feel like you're doing homework and you want to play a linear game instead, then maybe you should check out Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, which came out on PC last year and it just landed on PS Plus Extra and Premium, which is great if you've never played Uncharted The Lost Legacy or Uncharted 4, because there is no way this remaster is worth $50. Apart from the higher resolution and performance, these games now have haptic feedback and adaptive triggers support, which make gunfights feel dope. Too bad there's no blood and gore though, cause I love that shit. Speaking of which, if you want what in my opinion is the adult version of Uncharted, you should check out The Last of Us Part 1, especially if you watched the HBO series and never played the game, cause this is just a graphical overhaul of the PS3 game that came out in 2013. We've had the PS5 version last year and the PC port just came out. Speaking of PC, if you didn't get your rig directly from NASA and you wanna play The Last of Us, just get a PS5 cause I honestly don't think they'll ever optimize it enough to make it run properly on an average PC. Anyway, the game looks sick and whether you're fighting an infected or those firefly bitches, every fight is nerve-wracking. There's always that feeling that you could die at any given moment and you have to figure out ways to kill your enemies without wasting too much ammo. So you could try a stealthy / melee approach, or even better, you could throw bricks, Molotov cocktails and empty bottles on people to use them as bait for the infected. And while they get eaten alive, you could quietly make your way to the next area. Is the game worth $70 though? Hell no! Last but not least, we have Syberia The World Before. It's coming to Switch and all gen later this year, and even though it's far from being perfect, this is almost as good as the first Syberia game and probably the best point-and-click game you could play right now. After Return to Monkey Island, obviously. So on this game, you have two different timelines and tons of puzzles to solve. But as you can see, technically speaking, it looks outdated. So if you're still on the fence, try out the demo and see for yourself. You might end up liking this type of stuff. Oh, and before I let you guys go, here are a couple of games that I think are worth checking out. And the only reason they're not on my list is because at the moment of making this video, they haven't been released yet. Star Wars Jedi Survivor seems to be better than Fallen Order in every aspect. I think it's worth checking out even if you're not a Star Wars fan. And what could be Game of the Year 2023, at least in my opinion, is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I'll most likely play it on PC through an emulator because I don't have a Switch and there's no way I'm getting one to play at fucking 720p 15 FPS. And that's gonna be it for the best adventure games to play right now. I did my best to have a mix of old school and modern adventure games to make sure you find something you like. If that's the case, smack the shit out of the thumbs up button and maybe subscribe for more top 10s and game reviews. It's been Hitman89. See you guys very soon.
For the pay stub or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh. Fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up. Play the game, bruh.